You know, we're constantly hearing this one powerful command: plan for, sacrifice for, and build a better life for the person you're going to be down the road. So today, we're going to unpack this whole idea of the ubiquitous future you.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, right? Because it is familiar. It's the mantra you hear from financial gurus, career coaches, and pretty much every self-help book lining the shelves. It's kind of the background music to our ambitions, the drum beat we're all told we need to march to.
And that's the real kicker, isn't it? They don't sell this as one possible path. They sell it as the one true path. This whole blueprint for success, grind now, live large later, it's marketed to us as the only guaranteed way to lock in happiness and fulfillment sometime in the future.
And that is the big, scary question we're digging into today. What if, by focusing so hard on this perfect, idealized future person, we totally lose sight of the person we are right here, right now? What if the destination we've been working so hard for isn't what we were promised at all?
All right, so let's dive right in and tackle the central myth here. This idea of future you isn't just a friendly guide. It's more like a moving target, an ideal that's being packaged and sold to us. And that creates this huge tension between who we are today and a future that might not even be one we truly want.
And get this quote isn't from some famous philosopher or a tenured psychologist. It's from a Reddit discussion about productivity of all places. And it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures this core issue, the constant pushing of happiness off into the distance. The logic is actually super simple. If you can't figure out how to be fulfilled now, what on earth makes you think you'll magically find it once you cross some imaginary finish line?
Okay, so that naturally leads to a really important question. If we're all supposed to be chasing this future, where did the map even come from? Let's explore the idea that maybe, just maybe, the goals we're sprinting towards aren't entirely our own.
Seriously, think about it for a second. From the time we're kids, we're taught what success is supposed to look like, what a good life is. We learn the lines, the motivations, all the plot points. It starts to feel less like we're living our lives and more like we're performing a role that society handed to us on a script.
And this is where it becomes crystal clear. A researcher named Stephen Alvarez noticed how students learn to play the game of meritocracy. They're not just sharing their experiences, they're spinning a narrative that's perfectly designed to win. But in doing so, they become so good at playing the game that they end up reinforcing the very rules they were trying to beat.
So this diagram shows a concept from sociology called habitus. And here's an easy way to think about it. You've got these huge macro forces like the economy and culture, and then you have these smaller micro forces like your family and your school. All of these things create a kind of invisible gravity that's constantly pulling on us. And our ambitions, what we want, who we believe we are, all of that is formed right where those forces collide. And those forces, they start early. Psychotherapist Nathaniel Brandon used these simple sentence completion exercises to uncover the deep-seated beliefs we get from our childhoods. I mean, look at these examples. These aren't just passing thoughts. They become our core beliefs about our own worth. And those beliefs can dictate the kinds of futures we feel we deserve, or more importantly, don't deserve, for the rest of our lives.
So, what happens when you follow that script perfectly? You play the game, you check all the boxes, and you actually win. You'd think it would be pure joy, right? But for so many high achievers, the reality is something completely different.
This right here is the great disconnect. On the left, you've got the glossy promises we're all sold. But on the right, you have the hidden reality that so many successful people actually report. They finally get to the top of the mountain, only to find out it's lonely, the pressure is crushing, and that fulfillment they were promised is just not there.
And that right there is the biggest danger in all of this. By relentlessly chasing someone else's definition of success, the biggest risk isn't failing. It's achieving every single thing you thought you wanted and feeling absolutely nothing inside, because the person who finally got there isn't really you anymore.
You know, there's actually a psychological term for this feeling of disconnect. Researchers at the NIH call it a lack of future self-continuity. Basically, when the future you that we're working so hard for feels like a total stranger, someone completely separate from who we are today, we are way less motivated to do good things for them. I mean, why would you save money for a stranger? Why sacrifice your today for someone you don't even know?
Okay, so if chasing this abstract future you is a trap, what's the alternative? Do we just give up on ambition? No, not at all. It's about completely reframing it. It's about moving from a rigid, old map to a flexible internal compass.
So, first big idea, ditch the outcome goals and embrace process goals. The outcome,
write a book, is this huge, distant thing. But the process, write for 2 hours a day, that's something you can actually control and achieve right now. It shifts your entire focus from some far-off payoff to the action you can take in the present.
See, an outcome is a finish line. Once you cross it, boom, it's over. But a process? That's an infinite game you can play every day. Fulfillment isn't something that's delayed until the end. You find it in the daily act of just doing the thing. And that's how you build habits that actually last, instead of just burning yourself out in a sprint.
This leads to the next key idea, values-based living. A map gives you one single, rigid path to follow. But life is messy and unpredictable, right? The terrain always changes. A compass, on the other hand, which is based on your core values like kindness or creativity or courage, lets you reorient and find your way no matter what life throws at you. Your actions are guided by your principles, not some fixed destination.
And this all boils down to a really powerful concept from psychology called self-concordant goals. Really, it's just the difference between I want to and I have to. Are you chasing a goal because it genuinely lights you up inside, or because it's what you think your parents, or your boss, or society expects of you?
And what's wild is that research shows our brains can totally tell the difference. When we imagine a future that's tied to a want-to goal, it actually feels more real to us. We can picture it more clearly. It feels more emotionally positive. It's like we get to pre-experience the joy. And that is a powerful, powerful motivator that those have-to goals just can't compete with. So where does all of this leave us? Well, it leads to one really empowering conclusion. If the old story isn't working for you anymore, you have the power to write a new one. You get to be the author of your own life, instead of just an actor in someone else's play.
There's actually a whole field called narrative therapy that's built on this exact idea. It recognizes that we often get stuck inside what they call problem-saturated stories, these narratives that just focus on our failures and our limits. But here's the cool part. We have the power to actively challenge those stories and choose to live out our preferred stories instead.
And just listen to the language they use. It's so active, so powerful. You can resign from the problem's service, as if it were a bad job you're quitting. You can reclaim the territory of your life from its influence. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about taking real, decisive action against the narratives that are holding you back.
So we'll leave you with this. This whole idea of a future you doesn't have to be some rigid destination that was handed to you by somebody else. It can be a story that is still completely unwritten, and you are the one holding the pen. So, the only question that really matters is, what are you going to write?